The directions for how to use StatCrunch to compute the expected value and standard deviation for a discrete variable are right here. So you go to the Stat button, then Calculators, Custom. And the reason you need Custom is because a lot of distributions have names, like there are a lot of specific probability distributions, and this won't be one of them, right? This will be just some general discrete one. And then you've got to have, like in the spreadsheet part, you're going to have your possible values and their weights, and then you can just click Compute. So what does this look like? Well, if I go back up for a second, I'm going to use this example, the one with the restaurant, which there's the original table. That's the thing that you need. So if I go to StatCrunch, and our possible values were 4,000 and minus 1,000, and then the probabilities are 0.25 and 0.75. So this one I can just retype. And you can rename the headings if you want, the var1 and var2, but I'm just going to leave them alone. So you go to Stat, Calculators, then Custom, way down at the bottom, and then the values, here that's the possible monetary amounts, that's in var1, that first column. The weights are the probabilities. That's in var2, at least the way I've got it arranged. And then Compute, look, there's our expected value, right? The mean of 250. The standard deviation that we got was 2165.06, right? If I go back here for a second and scroll down to where it is, it's right there. So yeah, 2165.06 shows up right here, and that's basically it. This calculator up here would allow you to compute probabilities if you wanted to. But if you have a discrete variable with a finite number of possible values, then you're just kind of adding things together, and I don't think you really need this calculator too much. We might need it when we get into section 5.2, but not right now. And then for another example, let's say if we were going to do this, I think the one that we're supposed to do this for is the rugs. All right, so the rugs, let's see, I think I have to scroll up to get the rugs. Right, so there are the rugs. And if we were going to reproduce that, all right, so I guess I can just highlight these and delete them all. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 imperfections, those are the options there. And the probabilities are 0.41, 0.37, 0.16, 0.05, and 0.01. We had already figured out the expected value for this, which we're going to get again, which, I mean, it's right here, right? It's 0.88. So we are going to get that, but we'll also get its standard deviation. And if I scroll down to where this is, that's what we're asked for, right? Expected value and standard deviation. We already know the expected value is 0.88, right? All right, so Stat, Calculators, Custom, and once again, I've got the values in the first column, and I've got the weights, the probabilities in the second. Compute, there's the mean of 0.88, and then there's the standard deviation. It's about 0.920. And then you could figure out probabilities if you wanted to. I mean, I guess you could see, like over here, you could just add them together. And this is set up as the default to compute the probability that x is less than or equal to 1. And if you're going to do this just using the numbers over here, you'd go, well, that's 0.41 plus 0.37, and that's 0.78. Yeah, and that's what this gives you right here. And if you had something more complicated, like with a whole bunch of possible values, then maybe this ends up being helpful. But yeah, like you can adjust these things here. I think, yeah, here, like you could change the inequality. You can make it strict. You can have it going in the other direction. So like if you wanted the probability that x is like greater than 2, you just have to change that and change that, and then compute. And that should just be 3 and 4. And you go, well, that should be 0.06 because that would just be adding up 0.05 and 0.01. Sure. And then I guess the other option is, what if you have a compound inequality, like a between, and you wanted, let's see, and then here you can't toggle that these are less than or equal to. So if you wanted that, like x was strictly between 0 and 3, you would have to change it to that x is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 2. So you'd have to do it like that. But if you need to make an adjustment, this picture up here is actually good to help as a double check, because the parts that are being included are the ones that are in red, right? And you think, okay, yeah, that's strictly between 0 and 3, and the 0 and 3 themselves aren't being included because they're still black, they're not red. So You can use this thing to compute probabilities as well, but mostly I think you'd end up using it to get the standard deviation, because that's the thing that's really long if you do it by hand.